Hey guys, what is going on today? What's going on out there in the YouTube fragrance world? My name is Elliot and I want to welcome you back to another episode of The Fragrance Well. Today's topic, I'm going to be talking about some fragrances in my collection that were disappointments slash letdowns. I got them in and they either just didn't live up to what I really wanted them to live up to. I had actually sampled them beforehand and then I actually got a bottle, and for whatever reason it just didn't excite me like I thought it would once I actually got the bottle. Only one of these fragrances is a fragrance I say I just absolutely don't dislike. The other ones maybe just didn't live up to what kind of expectations I had put in my head for them. So I got 8 of them here, so we're gonna talk about them right now. Alright guys, these are in no particular order for me, so they're not like biggest letdown to least biggest letdown. They're just all in the list. So this is going to be coming from the house of Versace. This is Bleu. Versace Pour Homme Bleu. Don't get mad at me if you love this fragrance. I get it if you do. For me, the reason this was a letdown was because I had sampled it in the store and I really liked it. I had actually smelled it on someone else, actually gave him a compliment and asked him what he was wearing. He said he was wearing Bleu, so I really liked the way it smelled then, so I was like, well, I already plan on getting that one anyway, and eventually I did. When I first got it in, it had a kind of metallic tinge to it that I just really wasn't jiving with at first. I've had the bottle for a while now. I've worn it a couple of times since then. That has smoothed out, but it's still very much there. But ultimately what it turns out to be was this is an aquatic fragrance. And just turns out I'm not the biggest fan of aquatic fragrances. The notes in this one include aquatic notes: bergamot, fig leaf, grapefruit, black pepper, ambroxan, papyrus, patchouli, violet leaf, frankincense, musk, tonka bean, and saffron. So again, this being an aquatic fragrance and me kind of discovering that aquatic fragrances are not my favorite type of scent. I don't hate them, I just don't put them as high up on my list as other styles of fragrances. So that's why this one ultimately became a letdown once I ultimately had it for myself and could wear it for myself. A couple of positives for this fragrance though. This one does do very well with the humidity for me here in Florida. So I do give it that nod. It does perform very well, projects nicely, and is pleasing to other people, and it's not a bad smelling scent. It just didn't wow me once I actually got my hands on it like I thought it would. Versace Bleu. Good fragrance overall, just a bit of a letdown for me in my collection. Alright guys, so the next one is going to be coming from the house of Yves Saint Laurent. This is YSL's Y Le Parfum. I'm gonna go ahead and just say the Y line in general is a big letdown for me. I never really fell in love with it. I did like this one more than some of the other ones when I smelled it, which is why I ultimately did purchase it. But the more I wore it, it really just didn't fall in any higher favor with me. It kind of stayed where it was, if not dropped down a little bit. I haven't worn this a whole lot since I've gotten it. When I do wear it, I'm not blown away by it. In some ways, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm already kind of bored of this. Matter of fact, I'm ready to get it off my skin. And to me, there's just so many more interesting things in my collection than this one. This features apple, aldehydes, grapefruit, ginger, sage, geranium, lavender, tonka bean, cedarwood, frankincense, and patchouli. Now on a side note, I have smelled the newer redone formulation of YSL's Y, the EDT. I do know that is a massive improvement over the original Y EDT, and in some ways I think I might actually like that one and may want to purchase it in the future. I know a lot of people really like the YSL Y line, and I'm not knocking them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them, but to me, I think the biggest thing with this is the overly artificial smell it has to it. It's just done in a way that I just do not care that much for. Doesn't smell bad, it just doesn't leave me inspired. I'm not inspired to wear this. I'm not excited when I do wear it. I pick up the bottle and just smell the atomizer from time to time, and I'm like, yeah, I still kind of get that same feeling. It's a nice smell, but other than that, I'm just kind of like, okay, so what? And what else? You know, what else can you offer me? And it doesn't really offer me anything else. Okay, so the next one is going to be coming from the house of John Varvatos. This is John Varvatos Artisan. I love the bottle design. I love that weaved basket look. I think that is very unique and very interesting. But this fragrance in general just leaves me very uninspired. It does smell pleasant. It does smell nice. Why is this a letdown in my collection? I smelled this one a long time ago, I think in a Nordstrom, and I really thought it was really good, but a lot of time had passed from that time to the point where I actually purchased it, and I think my nose had just matured quite a bit since then. I had experienced a lot of higher quality fragrances, and as a result, this one just doesn't smell as appealing to me anymore. It comes off a little bit more artificial. This one has some difficult notes to pronounce in the base, so I'm just going to point out a few of them. It has orange, tangelo, clementine, thyme, lavender, orange blossom, and ginger. So the fragrance is very citrusy, has a lot of orange notes to it. It's very fresh, some fresh spice with the ginger. It's a very pleasant smelling fragrance. Not a great performer as most Varvatos are known for being, especially in the Artisan line. But yeah, it just didn't smell as good as I remembered it smelling. So that's why it kind of falls into my letdown category, if you will. All that being said, you know, it's a cheap fragrance. You can get it cheap on discounters. It's an easy wear fragrance, very pleasing to the palate, but it just, you know, it's kind of just like for me. So, you know, not as exciting for me. Okay, so the next one on the list, this is the only fragrance on this list that I absolutely just do not like. I wouldn't say that I hate it, but I don't enjoy it at all. Coming from the house of Perry Ellis, this is 360 Red. Perry Ellis 360 Red. It is a aquatic style fragrance that adds a lot of spices in it. And when I look at the note breakdown, I really thought I would like this because it has a lot of notes in it that I rather enjoy, but frankly, they're not very realistic. They are very artificial, and the way it comes off, I just don't enjoy it. Features lime, mandarin orange, bergamot, cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, lavender, coriander seed, parsley, musk, oak moss, cedarwood, vetiver, sandalwood, and patchouli. Like I said, there's a lot of notes in this that I really like, particularly nutmeg, cinnamon, clove. I really enjoy those kind of spicy notes, those dry spices, but they just don't come off very well in this fragrance to me. It's just very artificial, and with it being an aquatic fragrance with those things not done well, that's partially why I don't like it. For me, aquatics have to be done very well for me to really like them, especially if they have some of those elements that set it apart from your fresh aquatic, like spices. Frankly, I had high expectations for this because I got this very early on in my fragrance journey, and it was one that was talked about as being a really good cheap option. But when I got it in, I was just like, nah, this doesn't smell good at all. And I have tested. I've tested on my skin. I gave it a wear one time, tested on the strip. I still smell it from the atomizer, and yeah, my conclusions are the same. No thank you, no 360 Red for me. Y'all can have it if you like it. More power to you. 360 Red, this one's just a flat out disappointment in my mind. Okay guys, so the next one that was a letdown for me in my collection is going to be coming from the house of Zadig and Voltaire. This is him. Zadig and Voltaire, this is him. This was a blind buy for me, and based on the note breakdown, which is pretty simple, you know, I just kind of had an idea in my mind of what I thought it might smell like, and it just didn't quite live up to that expectation. It came in, and it doesn't smell bad, but I think the way the vanilla comes across in this one, it just comes across in a way that I'm just not a big fan of. Featured notes in this are black pepper, grapefruit, vanilla, frankincense, and sandalwood. So again, this is a pleasant smelling fragrance. The sandalwood does add a nice creaminess to it. The incense and the vanilla gives it a very nice touch, kind of a warm, inviting feeling, you know, so it's a nice smelling scent, but for me, it just doesn't, I don't know, there's something about it that I think it's maybe a little too artificial to me. It just doesn't quite excite me like I thought it would. I haven't given this a full wear yet. I do need to do so because, you know, that might change my mind a little bit. But yeah, I've tried it on skin. I just didn't really like the way it dried down. It was kind of annoying to me on my skin, to be honest. So yeah, just a letdown of a fragrance, a good smelling fragrance, one that is for the most part popular. I don't think it's a failure of a fragrance. I don't think it's something that is trash, so to speak. It is a nice fragrance. I like it. I was just expecting a lot more from it, and for whatever reason, I'm just not getting that. Alright, so I got 3 more, and these last 3 I'm going to categorize as on the fence fragrances. They're on the fence for one reason or another, and I'll go over why when I talk about each fragrance. First one, coming from the house of Nashane. This is Ani. Yep, Nashane Ani, a very popular release from this house. People really like this fragrance, and let me tell you what, I actually really like the way it smells too. The problem is I don't find myself reaching for it very often. And I think it's because it comes off a lot sweeter than I thought it would be. And I have this thing about sweet fragrances. They have to be done in a way I can't really explain to what extent exactly, other than I know if they're artificial, I don't tend to go for them as much. But there's something about fragrances where they're just overly sweet. Something about them has to work with me, and I can't quite pinpoint what that is yet. And there's something about this one that kind of leaves me on the fence. This features bergamot, green notes, Thai ginger, pink pepper, black currant, cardamom, Turkish rose, vanilla, benzoin, patchouli, sandalwood, cedarwood, ambergris, and musk. Now I will say this, if I had to guess for one reason why I don't wear it that often is mainly because of the climate I live in. I have worn this, I did give this a full wear one time when I was up north in Michigan and I had to drive over to Chicago for work, and this was dead in the middle of winter, or maybe it was late fall. Either way, it was definitely very cold. And I wore 3 sprays on it, and I loved every minute of wearing it at that time because of how cool it was. Something about here in Florida, I just don't want to reach for it as much. I think it's just going to be too much. So it's hard for me to explain. For whatever reason, I just know it's one I don't reach for much, but I do like the quality of the scent. I do like the way it smells, but you know, if I'm not gonna reach for it, can I really say that I actually love it? I don't know. And I really thought I was going to love this, particularly because of how hyped it was. I unfortunately could not sample this before I got, well, I could have, I just didn't buy one. I just went on ahead and bought it. And when it came in, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, and for whatever reason, I just haven't reached for it much. So this one's an on the fence fragrance for me, so I would call it a bit of a letdown because I thought I would wear it a lot more than I have up to this point. Okay guys, so this next one I got in very recently, and it is actually a discontinued fragrance that I had been wanting to get my hands on for a long time. This is from Hugo Boss. This is Private Accord. Hugo Boss Private Accord. This is the Private Accord that is well known for having that kind of cocoa note, so almost, a mocha note, so kind of a coffee kind of vibe to it. To be fair, when I first heard about this fragrance, it was one I really wanted to check out. I really thought I was going to like. That was early on in my fragrance journey. I think my nose, once again, has matured quite a bit, and now that I have it, it just didn't blow me away like I thought it would. It smells nice, it smells pleasant. I'm actually glad I got it. Because I had written this fragrance off. I didn't think I was gonna get a bottle of it, but then it popped up on FragranceNet, and I just went on ahead and grabbed one. And you know, it does smell nice, smells pleasant, but I thought it was gonna blow me away, and it just really didn't do that. That being said, I wonder if it needs to, you know, macerate. I might need to let it sit for a little while, and I might like it a little bit better after some time has passed. But yeah, that being said, it just hasn't blown me away. And I also recently got the scent Absolute, and I like that one better, even though that one I think is not talked about as much as this one used to be. You know, since it's completely discontinued and very, very hard to find, a lot of people don't really talk about it as much. But yeah, it was just kind of a letdown for that reason alone. This features ginger, maninka fruit, mocha, and cocoa Absolute. I did get the scent Absolute first, and I really like what that maninka fruit kind of does. So that's the first the scent fragrance I own. It's not the first one I've smelled. I've smelled a couple of them in stores and never really was that excited to buy any of them, but I grabbed Absolute and recently grabbed this one. And I like how that maninka fruit almost gives me, to me, it kind of comes off as like a dusty chocolate, almost like a chocolate powder with strawberries dipped in it or something like that. That's kind of how I experience it. And I thought, you know, that would actually go really good with like a coffee style note. And, you know, I do pick that up here, but it just didn't wow me like I thought it would. So, you know, it's a bit of a letdown. All that being said, I do think it's a solid fragrance. I see why it was so popular when it was available, and it's a shame that they discontinued it. All right, guys, and the final fragrance I have on this list is coming from the house of Narciso Rodriguez. This is Bleu Noir Parfum. Narciso Rodriguez, Bleu Noir Parfum. I just got this in, so you can almost say it's kind of in first impression stage. And this is also the first Bleu Noir fragrance period that I've ever smelled. So I don't have anything to reference it from. So the reason I think this is kind of a letdown for me is when I look at the note breakdown, there were notes in it that I really, really like, partially being iris #1, and also mixed with things like suede and leather. So to me, I thought this was going to be a fragrance that I was really going to enjoy when it came in. Since I've gotten it, I do like it. I do like the way it smells, but I was thinking I would like it a little bit more. But to be fair, like I said, this is still in first impression stage for me. I have not given this a full wear. I've only tested it on my skin one time. So that's the only reason it's on this list, is because I just got it and I thought I would like it more off the bat, but I do think I need to give it some time. This features cardamom, mandarin orange, bergamot, cypress, iris, musk, suede, tonka bean, leather, cedar, sandalwood, and vetiver. So naturally, I like the iris in it. Yeah, it's not a super powdery iris. It's more of just kind of a fresh iris. I do pick up those kind of suede-like notes in it. Nice citrus off the top, nice sweetness from the tonka bean, and a little bit of a woodsy base to it. So I like what they've done here. It's just for whatever reason I thought I would like it more. I thought this was going to be like an instant love, and it's just a solid like. And you know, so that makes it a letdown because my expectations were higher. But I'm gonna give this one some time to macerate. I definitely need to actually give it a full wear. Again, this is a first impression fragrance. So my first impression is it's not quite as good as I wanted it to be, but I don't dislike it. So yeah, Bleu Noir Parfum from Narciso Rodriguez. I don't know if I'd call this a hard to get. I think it's kind of popular right now and people are buying it up quickly when it does come for sale. But so that's why I kind of went on ahead and grabbed it, because I saw it was available. Yeah, but I'll probably talk about this one a little bit more later on once I give it some more wears. Okay guys, so that is the list. That was 8 fragrances that are a bit of a letdown or a disappointment for me in my collection. I will say that it's kind of hard for me to say that I have letdowns, because I don't just buy things outright because they're available. I definitely try to do a little bit of research or experience it for myself before I buy it, if I do. I've got the ability to smell a lot of fragrances right here where I live, and I smell a lot of them, and most of them I like, but it doesn't necessarily mean I want to buy it. So I do put a lot of thought into making the purchases that I make. Do you guys have any experiences with these fragrances? Do you feel the same way? Are some of these fragrances absolute loves for you? Let me know what you think. Let me know also some fragrances that you bought that you had high expectations for and it just kind of let you down when you finally got it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you guys in the next episode of The Fragrance Well, and I hope you have a wonderful day.